Welcome back to Frameworks. Today, we're going to break down one of the most important principles in the OPEX philosophy, and that is teach, learn, move, create. But this isn't just a catchy slogan. It was born from a vision of what it really means to be a coach, and we have refined and lived this concept over the years. And I believe if you take this seriously, it can guide not just your coaching practice, but your entire career. These 4 words, teach, learn, move, create, are both a reminder and a challenge. They remind us of what really matters, and they challenge us to embody it daily. So in this episode, I'm speaking directly to one of 2 people and then indirectly to a lot of other coaches out there. But the 2 people that I'm speaking directly to is, number 1, if you're a coach that you do this as your craft, this is your profession, it is not a hobby. You are not a hobbyist coach. And number 2, maybe you are a hobbyist coach right now, but you're looking to make that next step or take that next step and start to make coaching your craft and your profession. Okay. And then indirectly, I'm just speaking to everyone else, right? Like maybe you don't identify yourself as a professional coach or even a hobbyist. Maybe you've never even thought about that. Maybe this is a really good opportunity to really sit back and think about, where do I sit here and what does growth mean to me as a coach? But coaching is more than just writing fitness programs. It's more than just writing lifestyle nutrition programs. It's more than consulting and building a relationship. It's a lifestyle. It's a life that we live, and it's something that we want to grow in as professional coaches. If we're saying that coaching is our craft, it's something that we have to embody. It's something that we have to live. And there's a lot of impact that we can leave behind. And when I say a lot of, I don't want to misrepresent that as like, you need to go out and impact thousands and thousands of lives. If you can impact 5 people's lives in a real way, that is a massive, massive impact. Okay. So, bridging the gap to what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about this concept of teaching, learning, moving, and creating. And if we can do those things consistently, we're going to be less likely to burn out. We'll always be moving forward and growing in terms of what does it mean to practice and grow as a professional coach. Okay, so let's get into the teach, learn, move, create framework specifically. And I just want to talk about each one of these pieces and kind of explain what we mean by teaching and learning and moving and creating and why these things are so important to us, starting with teaching. Teaching, as it relates to coaching, coaching is mentoring, right? Like we ought to be teaching our clients what we know. We shouldn't be the purveyors of information where we're kind of just sitting on our throne and just saying, do this and do that because I know best, because I have X amount of education, schooling, experience, so on and so forth. We should be thinking in this craft, I need to translate this information that I have in my head to your head, and I need to do it in a really simple way. Okay, so every coach is a teacher. Every client interaction is an opportunity to educate that client. Teaching builds a lot of fulfillment. And I always see this with coaching or with coaches that have been doing this for an amount of time. There's always this spot where they go from, deliverers of information to teachers of said information. And it's such a beautiful spot in that coaching journey. So we're starting to pour into others where coaching is no longer this hollow practice of saying like squat this way, hinge this way, do this exercise that way, whatever the case is. And now we're actually trying to teach people how to do this for themselves. Okay. So teaching is not about just the transfer of information or information dumps. It's about translating principles into practice. Okay, that our clients can own, embody, understand, and implement in their day-to-day lives. So a lot of impact occurs when we're able to translate this information that we have in our brains to that client in an impactful and understandable way. So just ask yourself daily, did I teach my clients something new today? That will serve them not just for today, but maybe for the rest of their lives. I know that's a big idea and a big thought, but you'd be really surprised truly understanding some of the things that you say as a coach, how that sticks inside of your clients' heads when it truly does connect or impact the outcomes that they're looking for. So the first piece in this framework is teaching. We should always be teaching every single day. We should be teaching not only our clients, maybe our spouses, maybe our children, maybe our neighbors, friends, whatever the case is, but every single day really think through, did I teach someone something new today? And a lot of learning and a lot of growth comes from teaching. Over the past 6-7 years, since I've been educating on a full-time basis, I've learned so much just by having to teach information and to dig layers and layers deeper than I had to when I was just implementing that information. So make sure that we are teaching every single day. Next is learning. So if we agree that coaching is a profession, that coaching is a craft, we always have to be growing in this profession and in this craft. The best coaches are just lifelong learners. They refuse to just be good with understanding what they understand today. They're always looking to deepening their understanding. And I want to be really careful when I say the lifelong learner piece and we're always learning, because I think that we can get a little bit neurotic around learning. We also have to be good learners. What does that mean? It means that we have to understand what we know today. We have to implement those things a lot before we're overly concerned about learning the new thing tomorrow. So I know that those ideas might combat against each other, but they really don't, right? So when I talk about learning or understanding at a deeper level, or going a little bit deeper in your understanding of, maybe you're into physiology right now, maybe you're into nutrition, maybe you're into behavior change, maybe you're into communication, leadership, program design, whatever the case is, look at learning as a season or seasons, right? So you're not going to, in one season, learn everything under the sun. That's just never going to happen. Quite frankly, you're not going to learn everything under the sun in a lifetime, but make sure that you're going deep before you go broad. And, that's easier said than done. I get it, because I'm like that as well, where I just want to know and understand everything. But there is a lot of utility to just stopping and smelling the roses. Once we have a solid foundation, right? That solid foundation is pretty broad, but once we are good with that, like level 1 solid foundation, let's really focus on what we're learning and when we're learning it. Okay, so avoid the trap of chasing novelty for novelty's sake, or avoid the trap of trying to understand everything just to say that I understand this, that, and the other. Instead, refine your understanding of the fundamentals until they are just deeply, deeply understood. There's so many pieces. Let's talk about, biomechanics or human movement. There's so many people that spend their entire lives in refining their understanding of movement. But that's where we can become neurotic as a coach, when we're just like, I have to understand everything at that level. That's probably not going to happen. And quite frankly, you don't really have to understand everything at that level to be a great coach. So just understand where you're at in your season. Focus on, your strengths and your weaknesses in terms of your acumen. Know what you know, and then try to understand the things that you don't know. And by saying that, I'm just saying stay in your lane, okay? So ask yourself every single day, what did I learn this week that made me a better coach? Just we'll talk about it when we get to the application phase, but maybe sit back and periodize your learning, just like we periodize program design. Maybe build out your year or your half year and just really think through, what do I want to dig really deep into over the next 6 or 12 months? Is this thing going to lead to this next thing, and it's going to lead ultimately to this understanding that I want to eventually have? Or am I just going to go through these seasons of like digging a little bit deeper in these areas of program design and behavior and nutrition and consultation, whatever the case is? So just make sure that you're learning every single day, but be very careful to not fall into the trap of thinking that you need to learn everything every day. All right, the next piece is move. And this one gets a little controversial sometimes, because there's this kind of thought out there that, every coach doesn't need to be the fittest person in the world. Every coach doesn't need to have the lowest percentage of body fat. And they don't need to embody absolutely everything that they're trying to convey to their clients. And I believe that, or I'm with that to a certain extent. But I do think that coaches need to embody what they are preaching. Okay, so we must practice what we preach as coaches. It doesn't mean we need to be the most fit, the most shredded, the strongest, anything like that. It just means that we live the lifestyle. Okay, so our movement, our nutrition, our lifestyle, they're all visible examples for our clients. We do not want to be hypocrites. Okay, we do not want to be hypocrites. So we have to move every single day. We should move every single day. We should want to move every single day, because We love fitness, we love wellness, we love health, and we love it at a deeper level than most people out there. So it shouldn't be an issue for us to stay consistent in our own health practices. And it's not about perfection, it's about congruence. So if we live what we teach, clients will respect and trust us. Okay, so we cannot, again, I'll say this again, we can't be hypocrites. We can't tell a client to do something if we're not willing to do it ourselves. And we can't tell a client to embody this healthy habit if we don't even touch that healthy habit ourselves. Okay, so again, it is not about perfection. It's just about being congruent in what we're teaching our clients. So our health and our vitality are truly part of our credibility as a coach. Okay, I'll just say that. All right. It doesn't mean that we have to be the fittest or the strongest or anything like that, but our health and our vitality are part of our credibility as a coach. We are much different than the head coach of the New England Patriots, right? It's like that, well, probably a bad example because that guy was actually a beast of a linebacker. We don't have to be the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. I was thinking about Bill Belichick, right? You look at that guy and you're like, well, can he do what those players are doing on the field? Of course not, but it's different. And maybe he did do it at one point, but a sport coach is a lot different than a fitness coach. Okay, so we have to understand that, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to transform the lives of everyday people. And most of us are everyday people. So if we can't transform our own lives or embody those habits that we're trying to teach those general population clients, why should they listen to us? So our health and our vitality are part of our credibility as a coach. So we just need to ask ourselves, are we living in alignment with what we program for others, what we ask others to do? Okay. And we can go a little bit further with this, and we could say like, well, I'm giving someone anaerobic or, lactic endurance intervals. Should I be doing those every single day? No, of course not. But you should know what that feels like, right? When we prescribe something, to really understand it at a deeper level and to be a great programmer, we have to know what these things feel like. So I will say that you do have to experience those things and program design specifically, or have experienced those things, but you don't have to include those in your own day-to-day program design. Let's just make sure that as coaches, we are embodying what we're teaching our clients, and let's make sure that we are moving every single day. All right, I'm going to start this one with a question. Are you a creative person? Are you the creative type? Okay, I'm going to give you a second. Just really think about that. Every coach listening, their answer should have been yes. Okay, as coaches, we are creators. Okay, so we are the creative type. Every program that we write is an act of design. Every lifestyle prescription, every nutrition prescription is a creative solution to a human problem. So we are creative types. Even if we don't think that we are, we must start embodying ourselves as people that create. Okay, so creation requires both some science, we'll call those like principles, and some art, right? Art is application. What actually happens when we put those principles to the test with real n equals 1 individuals. Okay, so what does this mean? In program design, we're not just out there copying templates. We're creating personalized journeys that honor our clients as individuals, because as a creative type, we have to challenge this brain, right? We have inputs and outputs. Inputs, right? Conversations, assessment data that you're gathering from your clients, all the things that you know to be true as a coach. And then application or designing or creating those programs is actually the output. And then what do? That output then becomes another input, because if I design a week of training, I'm looking at those results as inputs, and then I'm saying, did I make the right decision on A1, B1, so on and so forth? And do I need to create something new, or do I need to pivot, or do I need to just continue on with what I created in week 1? It's a really beautiful thing if you think about it. We are all creators, and we live in a world of inputs and outputs. Okay, so we have to ask ourselves, what did I create today that was uniquely designed for my client, uniquely designed for my family member, for myself? And I'm going outside of just program design right now. We should just be creating every single day, because we are creators. From an application standpoint, it's quite simple. We just have to do these things every single day, and we have to hold ourselves accountable to doing these things every single day. And probably the most important things is we have to plan to do these things every single day. Okay, so maybe, if you have an office, write these 4 words on your whiteboard just as a reminder. If you're a journaler, just go ahead and write these 4 words in your journal. If you have an office without a whiteboard, just write these things on a notepad or a sticky note and just put them on your computer. Just as a reminder of like, I need to embody these things. And if I embody these things, growth happens. And, I'm being really careful and being dogmatic when I say that every coach needs to do these things, but I think we would all agree. We need to teach, we need to continue to learn, we should move as coaches, and we need to create things. Okay, so how we do those 4 things are going to be much, much different from you to me to Coach C, right? But we should all be embodying these things. Okay, so how do you apply this, right? Like I said, you have to plan to apply it. What I've done is I'm a calendar person, right? Like I'm trying to rehab myself out of being so connected to calendar, so bear with me. But I'm a calendar person, and in my calendar, I will just title, here are opportunities to teach, and then I'll put what I'm doing. I'm moving here. Here's what I'm doing. I'm creating here. Here's what I'm doing. And I'm doing a lot more than just coaching these days, right? So I'm taking these principles and I'm applying them to building our business. I'm applying these to my family life. I'm applying these to everywhere, right? I just want to make sure that I'm doing these things consistently every single day. Okay. So at the end of each week, ask yourself, did I teach well? Did I learn something new? Did I move in alignment with my values? Did I create with purpose? And then answer those things specifically for yourself. And then in terms of sharing this, right? Like maybe talk to your clients about this motto, right? Let them see you not just as someone who writes their program design, but as someone that is writing their program design, consulting with them, building in your own coaching acumen, so on and so forth. So I hope that this motto or these 4 words were helpful and beneficial to you guys, but it's something that we've embodied here at OPEX for quite some time, and something that we continually come back to, and something that we challenge ourselves to do every single day. So appreciate it. If you have not already, please please subscribe. It's been awesome seeing the subscribers grow. It's been slow, but we've had some really good conversations, and I'm less worried about the quantity, and I'm more worried about the quality. So let's actually engage a little bit more on the channel. I get a lot of private messages. Let's engage publicly as well. Because let's let iron sharpen iron as we have these conversations, because we're having so many good ones privately. I'd love to show other coaches those conversations, but I do want to respect the private nature that you guys are reaching out to me in. So until next week, appreciate it, and we will see you back here in 1 week.